What's happening, everybody? Up a fantastic, whatever day you're watching this. With the car community really kind of being a bit flat right now, there's not a lot to chat about. And unfortunately, well, there's at least nothing affordable to chat about. I recently did a video talking about the new Corvette and how that thing stacks up. But the reality of that car is that very few people will be able to afford that car, although they'll sell as many of them as they make. It's for a select few, and cars like the Mustang, the Challenger, the Camaro, well, they're starting to fall by the wayside. And unfortunately, there's other cars that folks tend to forget about. The Supra, the new Z from Nissan. These are cars that folks have, well, at one point, we're getting some pub, but I just don't really see a whole lot going on with these cars of late. And this is kind of the weird point of where we are with the whole car community. What up, Skids? Is that we don't even have an also ran. That's one of the key takeaways, is that we don't really have a good the other guy to talk about. And that's the weird part. I mean, yeah, the Z car is cool, but where do you go from there? The Supra has been talked about ad nauseum, and it's a great little car, but it's not really what a lot of folks are looking to spend. V8 out there. This is the other weird thing, is that there's not that quirky kind of different, neat car to talk about. The Charger, which is soon to maybe one day possibly be released, that particular car, well, it's already grown a lot of criticism, and the folks that would be probably the most willing to buy one, well, they're already looking at a Mustang to take the place of whatever car that they've got in their garage. They want the V8 rumble. They want that instant hit of torque. They want that screaming sound. They want all that is V8, regardless of displacement. And that brings me to another point. There's really not anything from the European market that's affordable that anybody in the States would really want to buy. You can talk about the M4 being basically what would be the competition to like the Supra or the Charger. But even then, it's not really the same. It's really hard right now when we're talking about the general temperature of the car community. Again, there's just not a whole lot to chat about. Where are our 6-cylinder all-wheel drive turbo variants of something that you can get excited about? I mean, there only is one coming from Dodge eventually. Maybe. Ford doesn't really have to worry about such things. And to be quite honest, if you want a hot rod all-wheel drive Ford, just build you a pickup truck. They're a lot cooler, they're a lot more utilitarian, and they're a lot less expensive. So, I guess that's about it. And probably one of the key reasons why I really did dive back into motorcycles is because, to be honest with you, the Hellcat that I had, it quit being fun. The reality of that car was that, it's a 4,200 pound monster that about the only time that it was enjoyable was when I had my foot buried in it. No real romance, so to speak, with that car, which is true of many others. And there are some cars that are out there that a lot of folks have basically just forgotten about that were really good cars, but they just didn't really scratch that itch. The most recent being, and we're talking about some of the more expensive variants, but we're talking about cars like the GT350, the GT500. These are cars that were basically flash in the pan for a lot of the automotive community. You've got other cars that are out there that you might consider in this conversation, the WRX, which used to be really cool. Whatever happened to the cool Evo type cars that were out there back in the day? You just don't see these things being driven and marketed anymore. So it's just kind of for an enthusiast with a job, and if you want to have something cool, there's just not a heck of a lot out there that you would really want to spend your money on. Grant, look, LS based stuff is cool. LSTA would be a lot of fun. LS Camaro, same idea. That whole fourth gen hot rod, a fifth gen Camaro sounds like it'd be fun. But again, you start to look at what you're going to spend, you start to look at what you're going to get, and well, you end up with a lot of mission creep at this point too. And that's one of the key takeaways is if you want to build something, making sure you stick with the program, or if you want to buy something, just how much money do you want to put into it to get to some kind of power production. And right now we just don't have anything to talk about that's new. The older stuff has been done over and over and over again. And the cars that I've been giving advice on up to this point, a lot of folks have already been there and done that. I think there's a whole lot of people that would embrace something cool coming from any manufacturer, but yet you just don't see it. The other thing that you don't see, manual transmissions. This is a key issue for me. For the guys that aren't, I guess, wearing the APT shirt, but for the guys that aren't really concerned with quarter mile times or draggy hits or things like that, somebody that just wants to go out and have a heck of a good time with an automobile, you can't do any better than a manual transmission. And so, it's one of these things where we don't have any of those really to speak of. I mean, the Corvette, doesn't matter which one you get, doesn't have that option. Challengers and Chargers, unless you see one on a used car lot, you're not going to have a manual transmission, and there is no Camaro anymore. So as it sits, what do you have to look forward to? Does the Supra even have a manual option? I know the Z does. And so basically it's a two-car race. If you're looking to get into a car that's going to be around $40,000 to $45,000 with a manual transmission. For the new stuff anyway, it's making it difficult to be a car guy, at least in that respect. And one other thing, I talked about mission creep when it comes to putting together a combination. You're buying a car because you're planning on modifying it. And then while we're there, we can just do this. And while we're doing this, we might as well do that. And well, next thing you know, you've got way more money, way more time and effort and energy invested into this build. I think a lot of guys are starting to, let me kick off again. I think a lot of the romance has been melted out of some people when it comes to looking into putting a build together. At one point in time, I thought about building an RT. I just, without having a drag strip locally that I can take it to, the only thing I could do to get quantifiable data would be to throw those wheels and tires on the thing and get out there and do some draggy hits. But even with that, that becomes somewhat limited and is, well, frowned upon by local law enforcement, no matter what country you're in. So, the more I started to look at it, the more I just became more and more, well, I don't know. With Dodge not making anything that's really worth my time to go and take a look at, I feel a bit disenfranchised by the brand. But when it comes to something that I would actually spend money on, that I would want to buy, that I would throw, some effort into, there's only one car that comes to mind, unfortunately, and it's the Mustang. Say what you will, it's the most powerful V8 out of all of them, hands down, when it comes to horsepower anyway. But kind of more to the point, they're really, really good. Just in general, from a quality standpoint. And it looks like Ford didn't have quite the issues that others have had leading up to this with build quality and things like that. At least not from what I've been able to see. So anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick. Hang on. Skid saying, yo, what's up? Oh, got the flex. Ball guy with the shades. Got the cadence down. I like it. Hard Rock is in. Shane is in. Lime's in. Skid saying, Super loses some of the cool being a reskin Beamer. True that. In the price point, that car's a little on the pricey side. Shane's liking the Supra and the Z. I do too. Yeah, both of them are really good. I have yet to drive one of the Z cars. I need to make it over to one of those dealerships and take one for a rip. Oh, the Suzuki Jimmy. What's funny, so what Skids is talking about is this, it's a Samurai but smaller. There are, in the town that I live in, there's at least, is it two? If it's not three, I know that there's at least two of those things running around down here. Apparently a guy started trying to import those things for a hot minute. And a ton of those little bitty pickup trucks are running around here now. Sovereign saying, what's up, B? What's up, man? Itch is in. It's called the Samurai. I actually drove a Samurai for a while when I was a kid. Shane's liking the Mercedes-Benz CLA. Yeah, that's a quick little car. Skid's asking, is it that the car enthusiast crowd is shrinking? Well, that's a topic for a standalone video. One of the issues that we've seen in the car community is that, we're basically just, how do I put this politely? The car community of today, the hardcore car community of the day, is a generational car guy. But what you have, in other words, there's very few people that are just kind of getting into it, like that are discovering it. This is not something that is new. Back in the 60s, car culture, or in the 50s too, car culture was new. That was a first. In other words, there wasn't a 1920s cars and coffee. There wasn't a 1930s, Al's Diner, right? All of these things were firsts. And what's happening with car culture is after a couple of generations, it's pretty common for things to just kind of go away. It's the way that it is. And that's what's happening with car culture in a lot of ways. People understand that back in the day, car culture was just that. I mean, it was a pastime. It was a lifestyle. This is where people put their disposable income. Now there's a lot of entertaining ways to spend disposable income. Not just by, getting greasy in a garage. There's a lot of folks that just don't romanticize that. And, there's the other side of it is you could have something really cool that wasn't metriced by the internet. In other words, if it doesn't make 1,100 horsepower, it's going to get gapped, right? It's going to get murked. It's going to get so and such kills whatever. People, the language of the culture has turned people off just as much as the cost and the headache, and the expense, the busted knuckles, the fact that you just don't want to deal with it. So car culture really is it's fizzling down. And it's happening with motorcycles as well. If you notice, whatever fad is in vogue when it comes to bikes, it's, getting more people on a motorcycle is real important right now to make sure that we have future generations to enjoy this stuff. But the same comes with car culture. People just, and here's the other thing, people have found that it is a horrible way to spend your money. A lot of times you just never see that money again, and it can be pretty devastating. So, people just, you take a look at the expense of it. You take a look at I don't want to say vile, but just the toxicity of the people that are involved in this. And over time, it just people you don't want to deal with them anymore. Um, when I worked at Pites, there were a couple of times where I just wanted to tell guys, dude, you need to find another hobby to get into. You need to go play golf. This is not for you, man. And I on one occasion I did have that conversation. Um, but there's other times where you'll be in the room with somebody and there's some realities that have to come down. And I think of one instance where I just had literally nothing to say. Just a horrible situation, soup to nuts. And this is the type of a hobby that is not for the weak of wallet. I can tell you that. So again, I guess I'm rambling on here a little bit too much about the fact that when you start to look at when you really boil it down and you start to look at what other people have to do, cars are just not as entertaining. They're not as cool. And here's the thing. There's nothing to look up at. Like if you've got a Mustang GT, you have to understand that is in essence, by the old metric of measuring horsepower, over 500 horsepower. 485 divided by 0.96 will get you the old way of deriving horsepower. And what a lot of folks don't realize is that was supercar numbers not that long ago. These are the kind of numbers that people would fabricate back in the day. Oh, I got a 500 horsepower or whatever. No, you don't. It's 350 on its best day. But, these are the types of numbers that we're dealing with in reality now. And it's just like any other type of thing that you do. I mean, the more you do something, the more experience you have with it, but the more numb that you become to it. And that's, in essence, what we're looking at here. We're looking at a lot of folks that, the internet would have you believe that if you don't have a 4-digit power number, it's not interesting. And ask me how I know. You can say however it is that you feel, but the vast majority of the people that are consumers of media have really no interest in a lot of what true car guys might be interested in. That they're only looking at who got gapped. They don't even care about the numbers. They don't even know what the numbers mean. That's the funny thing about it. I can tell you that, I own a 9-second car. That doesn't mean anything. Oh, it doesn't go 8s? That's why. It's that level of toxicity. And by the way, the absolute worst, Mopar guy. Mopar guy is the worst because Mopar is the only brand that their old school fans will shit on the new school cars. Like it's not a real Hemi. Back in my day, we all ran and then insert whatever time. You just tell them, oh, we insert whatever time is faster. It's just modern Mopar guy's got his own set of problems, but Mopar guy in general is the worst culprit in this, and I'll call it how as I see it. I mean, I've seen this at the track, and I've seen it at the track, and it was the last time I did see it. It was almost sad. So let me give you some room here. So myself, Orange Crush, and Mean Cat were at an 8th mile track. And we're in the staging lanes, and the way that this 8th mile track is, the pits are like right on the other side of a fence, or like a barricade wall, whatever it's called. Anyway, a guardrail. So it's like right on the other side. Well, this guy has got some kind of toy hauler with a Hemi powered, I don't even know what it was, some kind of a race car thing, right? And he had asked one of the other guys something about, this we all had Hellcats, and he asked something about it. I'm kind of not even paying attention to the guy. I'm eating fries, and he goes, "Yeah, this one's got a real Hemi in it." And the minute that I heard that, I looked at, I said, "What the fuck does that mean? A real Hemi? You're pulling it out of a trailer. It's a race car. It's not. If you're pulling it out of a race car and it's got a Hemi, shouldn't it be a Top Fuel dragster? Like that? Is that a real Hemi too?" Anyway, I just said you're pulling it out of a trailer. It's a race car. What the hell is that thing? Who cares about that? Nobody gives a shit about that kind of stuff. And this guy, who knows? He could have been points leader of pro mod circle jerkery. I have no clue. But that's exactly how people look at that guy. He kind of looks like pathetic, if I'm being honest. And you just call it out, man. It's like, look, dude, a real Hemi. Really? Like this is the kind of bullshit. Anyway, if you're into that kind of stuff, hey, God love you. But the thing about it is that nobody cares. And again, car culture doesn't exist. You've got drag strips that are shutting down all over the United States. People say, oh, drag racing is more popular than ever. In the small areas where drag racing still has a stronghold, it's doing okay. In the venues where they have NHRA events, I guess they're doing okay. But local tracks are shutting down. People are more and more disinterested in it. And because nothing changes, and it is a circus, and if you've never raced at an NHRA event, let me be the first to share with you that it is truly a traveling circus. And I'm telling you guys right now, more and more people are becoming less and less interested, and that's the sad part. So yes, fewer car guys. A DSM Eclipse or a Plymouth Laser with a Hurricane swap would be a nice build. The only problem with that, the engines are transverse in those cars. Sovereign's got a Racer X hat. Okay. DM saying, good evening, y'all. Good evening. Shane saying, good point on the manual transmission. What happened to the stick shift classes, or some of us have the balls to go up against and run auto cars? Just line them up. So you can't, the picture's not up there right now, but Foxy, I used to bracket race Foxy. It's a 5-speed 89 Mustang GT. I didn't know that was a thing. Like people go, oh, you're bracket racing a 5-speed. Yeah. It's the only car I had. And it was really the only type of racing that I could get into and be competitive with. I couldn't really race it heads up because it wasn't fast enough, but I was real consistent. Am real consistent with that car. Still own it. So, there's that, if that's kind of cool, but, again, nowhere to really take it to enjoy that kind of stuff. I do still drive it every once in a while. Try to get out about once every couple of months. MX-5 is a fun little car. All right, Sovereign. Getting a commission on those hats, buddy? Good job. It's good saying, hey, Sovereign. Hey. John saying, hey, just added a 24 Ducati Diavel V4 to go with the 25 Rocket 3. Very nice. Those are fun bikes. The Rocket 3 with a tune is not right. So the Rocket 3, for you guys that don't know, it's a 2500cc inline 3, and it is longitudinally mounted, not horizontally in the frame. And one of the funny things about that bike is if you ever look at the tune on a Rocket 3, it is so restricted as far as throttle opening. And if you de-restrict those bikes, they are spooky to ride because something that big is not supposed to be that fast. Oh yeah, the Racer X's last vid. Yep. Sweet car. There was a guy down here that had a NAG 1. It's actually a car that that I was real interested in and potentially doing a copycat build on. I never did see the guy again. It was a dark blue RT Nag 1 car. I think he put 370 gears in it. I think it was a 370 geared car. Anyway, on nitrous was like an 1140, 1150 car, and it was a great sounding thing too. Anyway, would have made for a really fun street car. Oh, DM saying the fast food and gas double crops car. Yeah, get out. You got to get out and vote. Yeah, for sure. Skid saying yes, vote. Oh, Sovereign, yes, I actually make those mirrors. So, this was an old prototype that I did. Well, this is the tire that was off of the T-Bird. But, yep, that's what they look like. Hang them on the wall. Anyway, there's a few other sizes that I've been working on getting, trying to find mirrors that'll work with them. But, yeah, that one was one that... Actually, I need to pull that mirror out of that tire. The rear tires, unless it's a 150, the 180s I can use. The 190s start to get a little bit heavy. Yeah. November can't come soon enough. Yeah. Shane saying, screw that. A true car enthusiast would find the fun in a 250 wheel horsepower car. They would find fun in almost any performance platform, no matter how much power it puts. Well, that's the thing. A true car enthusiast. That's what we're talking about, is fewer and farther between. And realistically, I mean, the guys that are really doing it up right are the guys that grab MX-5s and go out to their local circuit track and, you know, just get out there and wail on each other. That's the real car guy. And the real racer. I mean, the running, I guess the running joke or the running advertisement, I think they even advertised this at one point. More Mazdas are raced every weekend than any other brand. And it has to do with the fact that lots of guys love racing Miatas, man. And Miata, in their environment, MX-5 is a nasty little car, and we've got quite a few that run around here, so good stuff. Oh, old school muscle, analog, new school, digital. Yeah, there is a charm to analog. That's true. But the thing about the only downside, and I can kind of speak on this. I mean, it had the 72 GMC Sierra. I've got Foxy, which is still kind of analogish. It is fuel injected, but that's about the only thing that's sophisticated about that car. The main thing that I see, how do I put this? The cars of that era, again, you have to remember they were all firsts. They're getting on in age. And unfortunately, you're just not going to see vehicles that really fit that mold so well anymore. We don't have the ability with modern cars and the speeds that they go and the fuel economy that people expect to get out of them. You're just not going to see cars like that. But the weird thing is if you could bolt up one of the, HP 70 transmission to a 360 that you're putting in your Dart, that would be sweet, to be able to have the transmission technology. And really, guys, if I'm being honest, it's the transmission technology that's really helped out a lot for a lot of guys. This is where a massive portion of this performance gain has come from. So, I mean, you guys hear me all the time talking about how important transmission tuning is. Sorry. Yeah, analog amp versus digital. Yeah, the old tubes have a completely different sound to them, different feel. And EVs cannot replicate it. DM's agreeing. It's tough to get excited about cars if they're all the same. Well, that is the problem that we're facing right now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what is coming. I don't know what is coming from Dodge when it comes to this latest Charger, right? We just, I mean, we kind of know, but we don't know. But I can tell you this: there's nothing that is altogether exciting. I'm having a harder time getting worked up over the Dodge stuff just because of some of the issues that I've had with Dodge products lately. But we'll see. Arthur's brother B. Salute, I'm glad I checked because I got no notification of the live, but I'm here. Well, thank you for hanging out, Arthur. Appreciate it. Yeah, Sovereign's wanting the pops and the gurgles. Shane saying, man, I had 373s in my previous Challenger with the NAG 1 before buying my manual. Yep, what a difference, for sure. Sovereign, oh, that's clever with the mirror, yep. Sovereign saying, drill a hole in the center and put an analog clock in it. Those are glass, so I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, I thought about doing the clock too. But we'll see. I've got to get, there's a few things that I'm up to, so. But thank you. Arthur saying, yep, 250 wheel horsepower can be fun. It is fun, especially in a small car. No, I have not seen the Oval FIM Mini Cup bikes. I have not seen that, but it sounds like it would be super cool. But, But main thing, guys, is checking in with y'all. Like I say, I'm waiting on parts for the Katana. I've got an integrated. The Katana comes with running lights, and there's two running lights on the kind of like on the chin of the fairing. And why they're not integrated as blinkers, I have no idea. Anyway, I've got integrated blinkers coming for them though. So waiting on that kit to come in. Orange Crush is hooking me up with a rear sprocket, stock size, just black instead of the pot metal color. But that is going to be that's going to get swapped out when the new tire goes on. And let's see, what else is going on with the Katana? Trying to figure out how. So I'm going to need to get. I need to get a new air filter for it. I am going to get a slip-on for it and get it tuned. I'm not cutting the cat out of it. I'm not cutting the mid-muffler out of it. Not yet, anyway. I just really like the way the bike sounds. It doesn't really need a whole lot more power, but unrestricted, it'll pick up 7 or 8 horsepower and better power throughout the power band. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working with on that bike. It'll make just shy of 150 to the rear tire, so we'll get that knocked out. And then what else? I need to ride the Daytona. The trick of using RTV as a thread locker to keep the tank from leaking is so far working fine. It's just going to have to be something that's going to need to be repeated anytime I have to pull that stuff apart. But so far, seems to be working. The T-Bird just needs to be ridden, and I rode the Bonneville last night. And the thing about the Bonneville is every time I ride it, I just want to keep riding it. They're just a ton of fun, especially with a tune and exhaust on them. They're just real snappy. So anyway, a lot of fun to ride. But getting back to you guys, Shane's asking, has anyone seen a built Mini Cooper 4-cylinder? I wonder what that would be like. There were guys that used to the supercharged variant of that car. There were guys that used to hot rod the hell out of those things for autocross. And they run exactly like you think they would. This is nothing but torque. and real loud supercharger noises, which is always good. Martin saying, not sure what the sales are like for the 300. It is going away. But if they were to put the Hurricane in that car, I'd prefer to drive it over the new Charger. Yeah, good point. And, well, I mean, they're doing away with the 300, and the Charger is going to be available 4 and 2-door. So that's about as close as you'll be able to get to it, unfortunately. Skid saying, guess some are supercharging the MX-5s as well, since it's Miata and reliable platform. They are killer little rockets with the supercharger. Oh, yeah. Shane saying, front-wheel drive cars, an 0506 Altima 3.5 SE and the SER. Dude, I had one, and yes, they are very fun. Thing will fry a set of front tires. Oh, skids, yeah, right at the 250 mark for the little Miatas. Those are, like I say, they're a riot. Arthur saying, I'd love a positive displacement supercharged Miata, not a ton of power, but the response and quick revs. Oh, yeah, super fun. Arthur saying that SER is legendary in the front-wheel drive game. Yes, they are. The Altima never did that again and went downhill for generations after that. I wanted an SER so bad I could not see straight. Really liked that car. Oh, Skid saying a buddy has just picked up a Cooper S 6-speed. Nice. Fun car. Like I say, if you ever want to get into autocross, it's a fun way to do it. Oh, Shane's talking about the Altima. Dude, I loved my Altima. I put so many miles on that thing too, and it was fast. I mean, it was legit quick. And in fact, I like my Altima so much, I bought a 350Z, and the 350Z is the car that that I ran up in Northern California, up and down Pacific Coast Highway. The thing was a lot of fun. No, the SR was it was still the 3.5 liter, but you could get it had upgraded suspension, rims, and a 5-speed. Yeah. And I think there was a Nismo variant too. I may be wrong about that. Anyway, you could the old school little Altima hot rod was it was such a good little car. And it handled good too. And I still see them running around. Those things are like, you can't kill them. And as long as you're changing oil in it, they seem to last a good long while. So, anyway, they're neat cars. And but again, it's like they can't make cars like that anymore. Anyway, I used mine. It was my work car, and I absolutely loved ripping around in that thing. But there's nothing like that anymore. The Limes, thank you very much. I appreciate that, bud. This is Limestein's 10th super on the channel. So my friend, I do appreciate that a ton. Thank you very much. Very, very much. Saying just for fun, buddy, I appreciate that. We know that the cars that we don't have anymore, I don't know what the spiritual successor would be to some of these things. I mean, the Altima kind of grew. If you knew the old Maxima, so it was 4D SC would be the sticker on the back glass. It's 4-door sports car. The old Maxima gave birth to the then next generation Altima. It's very much that car's successor. The Maxima itself grew to this larger sedan. And the Altima was basically the same size as that older Maxima, which is a killer little car, by the way. But there never really was a successor after that generation. And it could have been so good. Anyway, loved the old Nissan stuff, and it's just a bummer that we don't have. The thing that made them great is they were kind of light, and so they weren't. I mean, they were. I wouldn't say they weren't super powerful. It's a V6, right? It's a 3.5 liter V6. It makes the power that it does, but it didn't have to. It wasn't burdened with a bunch of power, and they were aggressively geared. So, especially on a highway rip, those things would absolutely just cruise, man. They were so good. And again, Limes, thank you very much. So I'm saying he was looking at eventually getting a Highlander Tacoma Tundra, but for some reason there's only 2.4 liter turbo options or twin turbo 6, no plain V6. Correct. That is correct. What is Toyota thinking? Don't know. It's funny. Smoking Hot and I were talking about this. There was an older Tacoma that we saw, and it was considerably older, the forest green color, and both of us at the same time, like, man, when we were kids, would have loved to have trucks like that. And you just don't really see that anymore. Not like that in the old school Tacoma that was just, freaking nuke proof. Skids, yeah, they're replacing a ton of engines in the Tundra. The reason for that is casting material being left in the blocks. Sovereign saying, want a plain V6 so turbo failure would not be something to worry about and having to require synthetic wheels. Yeah, I mean, you can get the smaller truck. I just don't think you can get the big one with that option. Oh, Skid saying, so Nissan makes a turbo Altima. Lately, they might. Yeah, no manual. Hope it's not a CVT. Yeah, that wouldn't be too much fun. Yeah, I don't know why they don't offer just a plain V6 in that truck. It may be that the only people that were buying it would be fleet. The author saying Nissan just gave up on the performance variants. Now they only have the SR Ultima, but it's not an SER. And it's just basic with black emblems. Actually, the Ultima is going out of production right now. That's too bad. I really like the Ultima. Like I say, I loved my SE35. That thing was a ripper, dude. So, yeah, cool, fun car. Oh, Skids, the turbo is a CVT? Oh, yeah, no thanks. Forget it. Not having a CVT. Oh, Shane said, yeah, I heard they're pretty quick, the all-wheel drive ones. I mean, they might be awesome, but I don't know. I don't know about the CVT. A lot of the CVTs are kind of fragile. So, Simon saying, how reliable are Toyota's turbos? Would they hamper Toyota's engine reliability? Probably not. Yeah, the NA stuff will go 300 plus. Shane, mine was silver. Silver. Yeah, as long as you're changing oil in any of the modern, I say any of them, as long as you're changing the oil regularly, most modern engines will outlive a lot of major component lives that it's attached to: transmission, suspension, the body itself. There's the newer engines are the metallurgy is really it. Plus, lubrication technology has come a very long way. Sonoma Sunset Red, nice. But yeah, mine was silver. Sirens B, is my F-150 NA V6? No, mine is the Coyote V8, 5 liter. My dad's truck that my sister now has is a regular cab short bed V6. The funny thing about that truck is it's actually pretty damn quick. So I'm saying F-150 is an option if they still have NA, or can get a plain 5 liter V8. Absolutely, you can. I highly recommend the Coyote V8 in that truck. I am having more. and I'll keep saying this too, I'm having more fun. This is so weird to say. I'm having more fun in a four-wheel drive crew cab 331 geared with regular floor mats and rubber floor mats F-150 than I did in my Hellcat. I was out playing with it last night. I will drive that truck just to drive it. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it runs. I have more fun in that truck than I did in a record-holding, record-setting Hellcat. That's how you know you've moved past some milestone in your life. And you start to get to a point where you just want to have fun. You want to be able to use all that you have. And there's nothing more fun than barking second gear in a freaking four-wheel drive pickup truck. So anyway, yeah, that's my tuning for you. My metric for a quality tune is, will it bark second gear? That's pretty funny, right? But it will. As a matter of fact, I had forgotten to turn off traction control, and I did. I've made some change, like some variations to traction control in my truck, but it's still very active. And so last night I mapped the throttle, and I had the locker on. The locker only stays on until 25 miles per hour, and then it cuts off. And so it rips out of the hole, first gear, second gear, tries to bark the hell out of the tires, and traction control kicked on, which was pretty funny. So anyway, it's a fun truck. I really enjoy driving it. In fact, again, Smoke and I were talking about, have I thought about maybe doing another build at some point? And I said, look, if I were to do another build, this is going to be pretty boring, but it would be an F-150. I would probably do a four-wheel drive truck, regular cab short bed, drop it, put it on a set of welds, tune, probably just do the Ford supercharger, and the same exhaust that I have now. It'd be a 700 horsepower truck. What could be bad about that? And but just because you could literally play with it on the street, you could do whatever you wanted to do, play with it on the street, have a ball with it, and that's what I would build. And that's kind of where I'm at in this whole grand scheme of things. Is if I were to do something again performance-wise that only had two doors, it would be a pickup truck. I'm more of a truck guy anyway, so. It's even the Kia Forte Turbo is either manual or DCT. So, any word of 2425 having just a plain 5-liter V8? Oh yeah, absolutely they will. So, we want a Toyota for long-term reliability, but not having an NAV6 is a problem. So Ford is an option with a V6, yep, or a V8, yep. But I don't know if it'll match Toyota's reliability. Man, I'll put it to you like this. If you're changing the oil regularly, don't worry about it. You have to remember that I live in a world of fleet vehicles too, and we don't start swapping out fleet vehicles until they hit 250,000 miles, and these are all NA V8s. That's it. In fact, the last of the Coyote V8 trucks that we had were the older generation. There's one guy that's got one. I think it's got 375,000 miles on it. He will not let anybody take it away from him. So I think they're just going to give it to him if he decides to retire. But yeah, just keep changing oil in it. Don't worry about it. Look, let me put it to you another way. All engine manufacturers today have got some kind of an Achilles heel. There's going to be some maintenance thing that's going to cost you $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 if you keep the thing long enough. Just know that coming into this. These engines, transmissions, they're dealing with power numbers that you would not have had to deal with in the past. And so your better bet is, if you really are looking for a solid, reliable Tacoma, get a used one with a good service history. And all you got to do is just keep changing oil in that thing, and you know it's going to last forever. But all of the more modern stuff, you know, one of the reasons I liked the Toyota was that it was overbuilt and underpowered. That's one of the reasons why it would just keep on going. You couldn't hurt it. It's got one of the best crankshafts in the industry. And back in the day, they used to offer a supercharger kit for that thing that bumped it to like 500 horsepower or something like that. Not a bad way to go. Like I say, they're great trucks, and that would probably be the way that I would go personally if I were doing something like that. Oh yeah, skids. The 5 liter is definitely not going anywhere. DN said, I always preferred the Evo, Mitsubishi Lancer Evo to the Subaru WRX. I was more of an Evo guy too. The Mitsubishi has more feel. The Subaru feels disconnected because of the electronic aids. I was always an Evo guy. I would immediately go for that. Arthur, B. Mason, I have a 440 wheel horsepower 08 335. By the way, 335 coupes are stupid quick, and it is horseshit the way that they rate horsepower in that car, because that thing is way more powerful than 275 horsepower, whatever it was that they were advertised at. And Arthur, don't worry about running an inline 6 Charger with that car. You'll smoke them. It's not even close. I know the 335, a buddy of mine had one, had a Vishnu tune, and that thing's stock was fast, was even better with the tune. Yeah, so yeah, the 5.0 is an option, and it's a really good one. Oh. And guys, I'm going to have to shut it down here pretty soon because I got to be up with the Amish. I don't want to miss anybody, though. Let me see if I can check in. Anybody's got any questions? Oh, I don't know why the old Evo had the 5 either. Yeah, high strung when it comes to maintenance, talking about that 335. Yeah, but they run good. Yep, Arthur, yeah, you'll never have a problem with these modern, unless it's a Dodge V6. I don't know what about it, but every time I see a car with a Dodge V6, not the Jeep 3.8, but the 3.6, there's always something wrong with them. I don't know what the deal is there. Sovereign XL is the minimum trim. It's the base model. You can get a very, very base model. You can get a base model F-150 crew cab with vinyl interior. But guys, with that, I do have to wrap it up. Lime, thank you so much for the contribution to the cause, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. Love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. And with that, folks, I got to wrap it up. Y'all have a great one. We will catch you on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios.